Hi guys, in the last video we were looking at some of the methods that we have, or some of the functions that we have working with lists or working with objects within lists. So we'll continue the last video and we'll go ahead and conclude lists in this one. Now we looked at a few formatting functions like format wide, format list and whatnot, and then we also looked at how to format wide with either file names or file size and whatnot. So if your object has more properties, you could do that with a lot more properties. For example, if you go with the processes objects in format wide, you get many options like the ID of the process, the name, the display name, the assigned amount of memory, CPU and whatnot. The more properties an object has, the more properties you can use to format them by in format wide and format list. So moving on, we'll look at the where object, and I'm just gonna type something in and then I'll be right back. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm getting all processes and I'm piping that to the where object function or where object commandlet, and what I'm doing here is I'm running a small expression. I'm saying for every object, for each object, $_ represents each object that passes through that function, or whatever the output of get process is piped into where object, and when it evaluates this expression, it goes and passes each object here, and it verifies if its physical memory is greater than kilo megs, 100 megs, basically more than 100 megs. So if I run this now, there's only one process, right? If I reduce this, there's going to be more. So that's any process that's using more than 10 megs in physical memory. Now you could do this for anything. So I could just go in and say, what is this ID? ID is less than 3 digits, and these are all the processes with ID less than 3 digits, right? Or I can say less than or equal to. I don't need the T. Same thing, so you could do greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. We can also do 964, and I'm gonna do EQ for equal to. So that's the same thing here, right? Audio DG, and that's audio DG. So if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can use the equal, but if you don't, you can use the others. So this can come in very handy. It's very powerful to use where object and then filter by using an expression. What's critical is the braces, the brackets that we're using here. Your expression needs to be within these brackets for this to work. You can also use regular expressions. So I can just get the same. I'm gonna get the same function, right? And what I'm gonna do is let's give a space, $_ dot. I want to say process name. Yes, there is a process name property. Now $_ process name, I want to say match. Match is how you can trigger a regular expression, and if you're familiar with regular expressions, it's very easy to do this. It's not important that you have spaces here, but that's just me. I want to say starting with X. Probably not X, W. We have something starting with W for sure, and after that match anything any number of times. So if I do that, it should get everything that starts with a W. Let's see if we got anything with X. Right, nothing. Or Z, nothing. Okay, we got nothing with X or Z. Alright, so that's how you would match, or you try to filter items. So you can use this, the power of this is you can use this to filter out, or if you have a loop and you want to restrict the number of objects going through the loop, you can do this. You can filter this out. Instead of passing everything that the get process commandlet returns, you can filter it by alphabet, beginning with W, let's say, and then just run. It's much more efficient to do it this way. Now let me just clear this. I'm gonna create a number 1, 2, 3, right? 33, 44, 55. Okay, I just created a list. Again, same concept that we did in the last video. I'm gonna take number and pipe that to for each. There's two variations of this, so you could use for each object or just for each. For each is an alias of for each object. right? What I can do is I can process. Again, I will use the same brackets, and I'd go $_, which is for each object, and you could do, I could just say multiply it by 2. So just multiply by 2, and there we go. So 1, 2, 3 becomes 2, 4, 6, and 33, 44, 66 becomes that. Again, this could come in very handy, very powerful. I can do this with strings as well. I could split strings up. I'm just going to do my name, put the $ equals mo. Right, that's my name. I'm just going to say ICT. Right, I just want to have a couple of spaces so I can split or whatever. So I can, if I type this, my name, that's perfect. I can pipe that to for each object. What do I want to do with this? I'm just going to say $_ dot split and split by space. Yeah, so let's see what comes up. So earlier it was returning everything in one line. Now it's split it into 3 lines, which means each one of these is a separate object. So this is how you could split a string, or that's how you could process a number as you go through up and parse a list. We could do another example. I could do get service because we haven't used it so far in this course, and it's very common to use this one. And I can say for each object, or this time I'm just going to use for each. For each is an alias, so it has everything in lowercase. What I want to do is I want to print, I want to write host $_ dot name or display name. I'm not sure. Okay, name works. I could also do display name, I think. Display name, or is it the process? Okay, that's a display name. Each one of these is its own string. You could do whatever with it, and it's part of a list, so you could use get unique, or you could split each of these strings by space. You know, like the potential is limitless. Now let's do one last thing. I want to show you a couple of things. Select and sort objects, and then we'll conclude this video because even this one's getting longer. But there's so much in lists. There's a lot of stuff to go through in lists because they're fundamentally used a lot in programming. So I'll just go through the get process commandlet, get the output, pipe it to select object, right? And then I want to say by property process name. That's the process name. And if I do this now, if I press enter, it'll just print all the process name, but you could just do comma separated ID, WS, right? And then it printed all of this information. It printed the ID, the name of the process, yeah, so process, ID, and WS, so it printed them. So how do I know that? You just do get process, and you have all the calls. So get process, I'm just gonna do select object, last 5, right? And now this, well, I only did that so I can see the column names basically. So you see there's a WS, there's a CPU, there's a physical memory. We already looked at that. There's handles. Technically I could go back into these and go select by property, and I want name, ID, handles, CPU, and it'll only print those 4, right? There's other ways of getting information like this. There's other ways of looking at the output tables and manipulating their output into return functions. Maybe a little later in the series we'll look at that, because that's a little bit advanced and you need to understand how PowerShell builds the output tables, so all of these, right? So if okay, like I did earlier, I could also do first. Yeah, these are all the first. That's why they're starting with A, and these are starting with W, because that's the last character I have in my process list. Now, I think we looked at this before, but I'm just going to do get process and sort object. I'm just going to sort object by property name, right? And then I'm going to pass this to select object, again property name, status, and I'm gonna do ID, right? Oops, name, status, and ID. So why hasn't it printed status? Yeah, okay, status is empty. Sorry, that's my bad. This is what am I looking at? Get process, yeah. It's not get service. So I can say first, and then I can say 10, right? And it'll print first 10. So that's it. I want to conclude lists here. There's a lot you can do in the lists section of PowerShell, because everything that PowerShell returns is an object, and whenever you call a commandlet that returns more than one thing, it builds a list of them. And yeah, you can do a lot through, or it gives you a lot of power to be able to format it the way you want, filter it the way you want, select objects based on your requirement, find objects using the where object, iterate through the list of objects using for each object. It gives you immense amount of power, right? So with that, I'm going to conclude this video here. If you like this video, please share with your friends, comment if you'd like to start a conversation. Come on, don't be shy, and hit the subscribe button now.